Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz Day, May 24th, 2021. On the show today, news, listener questions, and we talk with someone who's created the Disney Comeback Index, which tells us how close Disney is to pre-COVID normal operations. Plus, in our main segment, Jim finishes up the history of Zorro in the parks and what it might mean for characters like the Mandalorian. Let's get started by bringing in the man whose biblical studies lead him to ask, at this point, aren't both testaments kind of old? It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
Okay. And believe it or not, Len, I have done some Bible study. I don't know if you've ever read Paul's letters to the Corinthians. This is basically when they're founding the Christian church in Corinth. And they're worth reading today because Paul comes across as the grumpy head office. I mean, basically
talking to the remote locations, the outposts.
Yeah, well, that's it exactly. Just to get at the letters. Do we have to open on Sunday? Yes, you have to open on Sunday.
Part of our corporate values. Did you guys not go through the training? Did you pick up nothing in the training?
That's it exactly. And it's one of those things where it's like you're reading that and it's like, I did not expect this in the Bible. It's like, look, don't make me come down there.
We gave you guys casual Fridays, all right? Now come on.
There you go.
That's fantastic. All right, Jim, let's do a quick shout out to subscribers over at disneydish.bandcamp.com. Thanks to new subscribers, Care Killaroo, Alex with a Y, GW Deacon, and Brian White, and longtime subscribers Aaron Riff22, Just Friends, Sean Encinas, and Michael from M&J Farms. Jim, these are the folks who convinced Eastern Airlines to give frequent flyer miles for each ride on the old Tomorrowland attraction If You Had Wings, eventually amassing so many loyalty points, Eastern had to close the ride. True story.
Well, wow.
They don't talk about this in the official Disney history, do they?
They do not.
All right, Jim, before we do the news, a quick question. You're familiar with the Waffle House Index, right?
That's the thing they do with the hash browns, right? The smothered, covered chunk.
I think you're thinking of the Waffle House menu, Jim, not the index. So the Waffle House Index is a metric named after the Waffle House restaurant chain by a former manager of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And the role of the Waffle House Index was to determine how bad things were after a storm, like a hurricane, and how much assistance the federal government would need. So the index actually has 3 levels based on the kind of operations a Waffle House has after a storm. So green is Waffle House is serving the full menu. The restaurant has power. There's no damage or it's limited, right? And basically you can walk into a Waffle House and order whatever you want. Yellow means they're serving a limited menu. There's no power, or there's only power from a generator, or food supplies might be low. And red, the thing you never want to see, is the Waffle House is closed, indicating severe damage, severe flooding, or not, and I'm not making this up, nuclear fallout.
Well, what I love is if you actually go to the Wikipedia for the Waffle House Index, they have an image from, I guess, after Hurricane Katrina in Biloxi, Mississippi. And it's a Waffle House that has been taken down to its foundation. The only thing left standing literally are what? 6?
The chairs.
The chairs.
The bar stools.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, technically, you could eat the hash browns with a plate on your lap. I'm just saying. So that's yellow to me. Anyway, Jim, today we have a special guest on the show. His name is Matt Pedalicchio, and he's developed a similar metric that tells us how much of Walt Disney World's daily operations is running as compared to pre-COVID levels. It's called the Disney Comeback Index. Matt, welcome to the show.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan of your work.
Thanks very much for having us. So what is this?
So it kind of started with, in mid-December, I started a popular thread on one of the Disney forums called the Walt Disney World Comeback, the before and after game.
Okay.
And if you're familiar with the over and under in gambling terms, this is essentially the same thing. It just so happens to make it about returning Disney items lost due to COVID.
Okay.
So each week I would select a random topic and assign a before and after date. where I would attempt to try to divide the fandom, try to get half the people or have people go after, but I wasn't so quite good at it. A couple of the early topics.
You're bookmaking here, aren't you? Like,
Exactly.
I want same number of people on both sides. I can get the vig. All right, go ahead.
Exactly. That was the goal. So, a couple of the early topics was like the Epcot monorail line. Now, this is like, mid-December, right? So
okay,
I'm
right.
like thinking Park Hopping's coming back on January 1st. I'm going to make January 2nd the before and after date.
Okay.
The whole community went after, and they were right. So,
Okay, yes,
I tried and I failed. And then the second topic was annual passes, which I did a little bit later, but of course that's not back.
Right. What's the date you've got on annual passes right now?
Back at that point, let me pull it up here.
Because you've got a whole spreadsheet that tracks all this, right?
I do. Yeah. So it was March 31st. So this is mid-December-ish. I threw March 31st. So that has a verdict already, and it's going to be after because It's still not available.
Do you have a new date for that?
I don't yet. I was thinking about throwing that as a bonus out there. So if I did, I would think it's the end of July. That would probably be my next before and after date for that.
Okay. I might take the after on that, but we'll see. So how do you keep track of these things?
So just kind of going along those lines. So basically, I stuck with that game, and I eventually moved to DVC Discord, where my friends Jason and Phil, they're the host of the podcast DVC Pod, asked me to continue the game. And then in early April, I pitched a new project called the Disney Comeback Index, which is an evolution to the before and after game, where I would go to quantify what level of the current Disney World experience is versus the one we had in early 2020.
Oh, sweet. Okay. All right. And you maintain this in a spreadsheet. And I've seen the spreadsheet. It's at least 1,000 rows long. It's massive.
So I started with WaltDisneyWorld.com and just dumped everything from attractions, entertainment, resorts. It was kind of real raw data, and I cleaned that up and massaged it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely ugly in the beginning, but it's pretty organized now. So go ahead.
All right. And you've got it organized into categories, right? So there's attractions, obviously. There's entertainment, there's dining, there's resorts. You've got paid events in there. What else?
I first had to just get a list of everything I could that was imaginable, right? So I started just doing broad level categories. So, obviously the rides, there are attractions and entertainment. So that's the nighttime spectaculars and the atmosphere and all those things. Dining, resorts, paid events, and Disney Springs, like you mentioned. And then I had to break those things into subcategories because all those things aren't equal.
Good point. Yeah. Good.
So the rise of the Resistance and Flight of Passage, I count as two game changer attractions. They're the top level attractions. They're not going to equal Dumbo or Carpets of Aladdin. So and of course all of those are back. So it really doesn't affect the bottom line, but you still need to quantify those things.
Right. And Rise of the Resistance is probably more important than like Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, right? Just
Absolutely.
in terms of the number of the people that experience it on a given day.
Absolutely.
Oh,
correct.
That's fantastic. And then how do you handle things like parades, which are kind of back right now as cavalcades, right? So a parade might not be back, but we've got cavalcades, which didn't exist prior. So how do you handle that?
So, yeah, that's a really good question. So the first thing I did was, obviously I had a parade option in there, full scale parades. And that's right now Disney only had, Festival of Fantasy running in March of 2020.
Right.
So what I did was if that was worth 1,500 points, right,
okay,
in terms of my overall formula on how I figure out what's popular and what's not and what weighs more, what weighs less.
Okay.
What I did was I factored in basically bonus and penalties against those numbers. So if we're missing,
hold on, let me pause here. Have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons?
Actually, I only played one time, and my friend's very critical because I didn't come back and play again. But I did play once.
All right, go ahead. All right, continue about the parades thing then. All right, go ahead.
So if Festival of Fantasy is worth 1,500 points, how much is a cavalcade worth? And that's what I had to figure out. So what I did was I came up with bonuses and penalties.
Okay.
So a bonus to have the cavalcades back, I figured that was 500 points versus the 1,500.
So three cavalcades, like all of the cavalcades combined are 500 points, or one cavalcade?
Correct.
Okay, well, all the cavalcades combined. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Huh. Interesting.
So, and then the other thing was like, the lack of pre-shows and plexiglass and mask wearing and those things.
Yeah.
I had to factor them into as well. So what I did was I assigned those guys penalties. So for instance, I have 16 e-ticket attractions right now, and that's your mountains and
Right.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Trains and some of the Toy Story stuff, right? So
Mm-hmm.
to me, like losing an A2 attraction, which is what I have as a subcategory, would probably equal all the plexiglass that you would have to deal with, and all the mask wearing, and all the annoyance of sitting on a ride
Oh,
losing
okay.
pre-show.
All right. So if we get something like the Walt Disney World Railroad back, how many points would that be?
So I have that as an A7, which is basically an exhibit, walkthrough, site view type of
Fair
experience.
enough.
So it wouldn't bring back a lot, that's for sure, but it would definitely factor into the comeback.
How many points do you have for the masks, for wearing masks?
For mask wearing mandates, now all my numbers that I'm going to give to you right now are at the end of April.
Yeah, it's fine.
So I still have to make some changes for the May numbers, but so that adjustment is a minus 680. So
680.
basically, exactly, almost minus 700 points off the total experience.
Okay, fair
So
enough.
as those mask mandates start to come off,
Yeah.
the penalty adjustment will be reduced.
And then how many points did you have for shows like over at the studios, Beauty and the Beast and Indiana Jones?
I have a few different tiers for this show. So
Sure.
the first two shows is the Festival of the Lion King and the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular.
Okay, and how much is Indy worth?
They're T1s,
Okay.
and those T1s are worth 600 points each.
All right.
Where Finding Nemo the musical is worth 300 points. And then you asked me about Beauty and the Beast, right?
Yeah.
And Voyage of the Little Mermaid, I had them as T3s, and they're worth 150 points each.
So if we would have got back Indiana Jones plus any one of those shows, it would have more than compensated for wearing masks in the parks.
Yep.
Huh. I mean, that seems reasonable to me. I mean, it's not obviously wrong. How long did it take you to come up with the scoring system on this?
Oh man, so I'm trying to think when I started on this. I've been working on this for a couple of months.
All right.
Again, first it was just getting basically every line item I could think of, and right now it's over 1,000 line items. It's everything you could think of, with the exception of the smells. I couldn't quantify the smells in Main Street. Plus, they're back anyway, mostly, right?
Mostly, yeah. Oh, speaking of which, how do you do you have anything for like the ambiance that international cast members bring to Epcot?
I don't have anything like that, but I do have things like atmospheric things.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, all right. That counts.
Interactive things, streetmosphere, those things are part of it.
Awesome. It's fantastic. Jim, you have any questions?
Well, I just kind of feel bad for Matt, for especially the past month or so, to watch how we went from the 6 feet distancing to the 3 feet distancing to virtually overnight. You don't have to wear your mask outside. To have those sorts of changes, dynamic changes happening, how did you stay on top of that?
So I'm trying to do my updates once a month. It's funny. So, Jason from DVC Bob was like, man, you got to get this stuff out ASAP because things are changing on the fly, and it's kind of funny, so, just think about this month. We got Festival of the Lion King that came back, K-Make Cafe open up, Beach Club's opening up.
Yeah.
We have Boo Bash, which is going to be not a full replacement for the Halloween party, but it's going to be a bonus towards that, right? Because it's a paid event. So those things I had to factor in.
Yeah.
So my plan going forward is to update this once a month, just going and selecting the items that are back, and then looking at the bonuses again, looking at the adjustments, I call them the bonuses and the penalties, and factoring into them.
All right, and the maximum level of the Disney Comeback Index is 100, right? It's a 0 to 100 scale, right?
It is, but so here's the thing: there's certain things that will never come back, right? So, like look at Ample Hills, right? That's done. That's not coming back. That was there in February 2020. That's never returning, unfortunately. Now they just open up an ice cream place. Does that equal an Ample Hills? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. But it equals something. So it's, are we ever going to get to 100%? No. But in October, when we add, Remy's, when we add. Exactly. When we add Harmonious, if that actually starts, then does Harmonious equal, I guess maybe losing an Epcot Forever and a Rivers of Light permanently? I don't know, but to me, and that's the big thing that's missing right now. The nighttime spectaculars.
Right.
I have Happily Ever After, basically worth 3,100 points. And it's a massive thing. When that comes back, it's really going to boost entertainment.
Is that the highest point value for any nighttime entertainment?
It is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What's the highest attraction point total?
it's 1,500. So it's Rise of the Resistance, and I have Flight of Passage, because to me, I feel like both of those things are game changers. I put it out into the community, and
Yeah.
I didn't get any arguments with that. I kind of feel like those are the two things that people really want to do when they get there, especially if they haven't done it.
Yeah, if you could see Rise of the Resistance and Flight of Passage or Happily Ever After, you could argue both those points. That's fantastic. So what's the current level, Matt, of the Disney Comeback Index? Where are we at?
So as of April, the Disney Comeback Index was only 52.35%.
Okay, but we expect that'll to be to go up a little bit based on what's already happened in May, right?
Absolutely. And, one of the things is I have percentages per category. So if you're just the type of person that wants to go down there and experience the attractions, you're not going to miss a beat. I mean, it's 89.3% there right now.
Right.
It's the entertainment, which is only at 6%.
Are you counting
6.4%.
Are you counting character greetings as entertainment or as attractions?
Meet and greets are saying that's part of entertainment.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. That makes sense to me.
We're now in that weird middle space where the characters are back, but they're, I've been watching the footage lately, for example, for Chef Mickey's at the Contemporary, and it's just sort of like, hi, I'm walking through, I'm waving. Or the things where the characters are standing on the porch of someplace and waving, and it's just sort of like, not quite a meet and greet, but you do get to see the character, and
I actually have that factored in as well. I call them random character paloozas, like the Joy at Epcot and Pooh Catching Bees. So yeah, I have that factored in, and to me that equals about 4 meet and greets. It's not all the meet and greets,
Yeah.
I quantified 39 meet and greets are missing right now.
Yeah.
I factored in the Palooza part. Was about 4 of them returning. So, it's getting some points back, but it's obviously when meet and greets come back, that's gonna boost entertainment quite a bit as well.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. All right, Matt, where can people find you for updates to the Disney Comeback Index?
So most of my work can be found on the DVC Pod Discord server. So I don't know if you want to provide that link in your notes or something like that. And then I'll also provide my Google Drive links to the before and after comeback game, the original game, because I still do about a topic a week or maybe every other week.
Yep.
And then going forward, the DCI will have at least the summary page will be visible to everybody.
Yeah, send me the links and I'll put them in the show notes and we make those available to everyone.
Awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, thanks for coming on the show, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your time today as well. Thank you.
All right, Jim, let's do the news. Folks, the Disney Dish News is brought to you by Storybook Destinations, trusted travel partner of the Disney Dish podcast. For a worry-free travel experience every time, book online at storybookdestinations.com. All right, Jim, some news out of Walt Disney World in Florida, specifically that the Disney Vacation Club has announced plans to change Big Pine Key from cash rooms to DVC Resort Studios in 2022. And so, Jim, this is the building. Big Pine Key is the building that runs east to west, just east of the main building, and it faces the long side faces either the pool or the Polynesian. It's actually the closest external building to the existing DVC villa, so it kind of makes sense from a geographic perspective.
No, I get that. In fact, I want to say at a recent Disney press event, I stayed in the Boca Chica.
The next building over to the north of that, yeah.
That one actually has rooms that face out onto Seven Seas Lagoon and have a relatively decent view of the castle. And that
so those are theme park view rooms. I think that's why Disney did not make those DVC rooms.
Got it. Okay. So I'm just kind of intrigued that this is the building. I guess I get it. You're right about the proximity to the villas. Likewise, the proximity to the main building and the restaurant and transportation. So, on paper, it makes sense. But.
So it does a couple of things, right? Number one is it takes cash rooms out of circulation. And you and I have seen the occupancy numbers at the Grand Floridian lately. It's not good, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas DVC demand is not only is high right now, but it will continue to be high because the number of points that people banked when they couldn't travel during the pandemic is astounding. And so there are way more points chasing rooms now than ever before. So Disney needs to supply, it needs a bigger supply of DVC rooms. This is going to help with that. The other thing too is, and we've talked about this on the show many times, but when Disney sells DVC rooms or DVC contracts, that counts as theme park revenue. And so they're basically on this treadmill where every year or so you need to add new DVC inventory to give people something to buy to book more revenue, because if you don't, then that revenue segment falls down and nobody wants to be the CEO when that happens.
Get that.
Yeah. So taking rooms out of inventory, it'll boost the regular occupancy numbers of the Grand Floridian. It'll also make it harder to get a regular cash room at the Grand Floridian, which allows them to increase prices, right? Supply and demand. So that's interesting.
Do we have a timeline on this?
2022? Summer 2022?
2022. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still surprised that they haven't done this at other every deluxe so far, like take more rooms. I mean, they've done it at Animal Kingdom Lodge, right? So where you've got a mix of, and they've done it at Wilderness Lodge, right? And they've done it at Beach Club. But like, why hasn't it gone to Yacht Club yet?
I think that's an inevitability at this point.
I think it will be inevitable that at some point, like every deluxe hotel will have a DVC component.
Okay, makes sense.
Next bit of news, and this is courtesy of our friends over at wdwmagic.com. Complimentary Magic Bands will no longer be issued with annual passes as of August 16th, 2021. So a couple of interesting things here. Disney mentions that the launch of Disney Mobile or Magic Mobile, their app, means that they no longer need to give out Magic Bands to use all of the nifty things in the park like tap styles and whatnot. But Jim, the August 16th, 2021, a random day in August. Why did they pick that day?
Obviously not tied to the end of
fiscal
the
year, right?
Yeah.
It's a random, this is the third Monday in August. There's no historical significance to it. So some people have asked, is this the day on which annual passes will go on sale again?
Oh, okay.
Right.
Given the past week of news between the whole CDC, hey, you don't need to wear masks outside anymore, and to watch the parks in real time
be like,
react to that.
No, do we?
Yeah.
Do we not? Really? Yeah. My local gym did the same thing. They were like, CDC came out with their guidance, and the first thing they did is remove the temperature checks, which I kind of like the temperature checks because when I go super early in the morning, like, at 6:15, I need a little piece of positive reinforcement to get me started in the day. And even something as simple as like, you don't have a fever. Like, I take that as a win, right?
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
So my gym has now said you don't need to wear masks when you're exercising indoors. And the day after I went there, so they did this like email blast to everybody and it's notification in the app and everything. The next day, still 80% of the people were still wearing the masks. And I don't know if it was like they didn't get the memo or they're like, you know what? I'm good the way I am.
It's a learned behavior, and this is something people do that makes them comfortable.
Right. The New York Times had this thing that said, basically mask may not be mandated, but for some they're here forever. Something like that.
Yeah.
And if you look at the data, right, the cases of influenza in the United States over the last year dropped dramatically because people were wearing masks. So not for nothing, but like I'm going to Vegas in a couple of weeks. I will be wearing a mask in Las Vegas, not because I'm afraid of COVID, but because every time I go to Las Vegas, I get sick. Every single time.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And so like I'm just, I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to wear the mask, which is, and whatever, it's fine.
And maybe stay away from the buffet.
Are you kidding? I'm going to every buffet imaginable. Like, there are some risks worth taking, Jim. I think that's a lesson we'll get from Olaf and Frozen, right? All right.
Okay.
So here's my question to you, Jim, about the Magic Bands no longer being issued, right? So Magic Bands are going away. FastPass is going to a paid option. Other than mobile ordering, what is left from the $2 billion that Disney spent on My Magic Plus at the beginning of the 2010s? Think about that for an upcoming show.
You and I have both heard the story about, whenever somebody would bring up the $2 billion development price tag and how so many things were left on the table, and the pushback from every Disney exec I've ever talked with is like, we made it all back on turkey legs. The fact that people were able to buy things without thinking, that moment of sales resistance when you reach to your wallet and you're pulling out the credit card, and it's just that Magic Bands made that moment go away. And it's just sort of like, we've recovered the $2 billion, we're fine. I think in a weird sort of way, this is Disney. It's like, all right, given how people are with their phones, and
that's definitely it.
Yeah.
I guess the question I would have asked, so my next question would have been, if they were back in 2010 and you knew you were going to spend $2 billion, was that the way that you would spend $2 billion again? Or would you build rides? So a question for another time. Because rides bring in people eat turkey legs, right? Could you have achieved the same thing a different way?
That's a fascinating question, but again, remember this is Disney,
Yeah,
the
and it's hindsight,
company
right?
that paid.
Yeah.
Oh no, always, and and more to the point, it's like $2 billion. Did you notice the 70.3 we paid for Fox?
Yeah, I mean, $2 billion. It's not a rounding error, but it's not something that they're going to spend a lot of time on. Yeah.
That's both fascinating and horrifying at the same time. So,
All right. Speaking of money, Jim, Disneyland announced that its upcoming Spider-Man ride, Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure, which opens June 4th, will have optional merchandise for purchase. And I believe the price tag is $65 that allows you to shoot more spider webs or use other character strengths like Iron Man during the game. So a couple of things here, Jim. One, is this the first major theme park ride to offer things for sale that changes the ride experience? Can you think of another Disney or Universal ride where you buy something, bring it on the ride, and it changes the ride experience?
what this makes me think of is the wands for Universal.
Right. But you can't bring it on Gringotts and have it change Gringotts, right? And you wouldn't want people on a roller coaster waving around sharp wooden sticks.
No, you would not. But it's just fascinating to start down this path.
You say fascinating. I was horrified.
What bothers me is that this is one of those literally have and have not.
That's my thing, right? Like why? I mean, we all paid $150 or whatever to get into the theme park. Why do we now have to pay another $60 to get a different ride experience?
Well, we talked on the last show about the Disney Forward project, which again is supposed to mix retail and dining and hotel inside the parks. And remember that, that the example they keep showing is the Fantasy Springs edition at the Tokyo park,
right? Where
there's going to be a hotel inside of the land. The people who are willing to pay for that experience, get that much more magical vacation.
I'm actually okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that. I think the wands and the lightsabers, all that is fine, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's sort of secondary. A theme park experience is built around, number one, rides, number two, theming, right? Mm-hmm. The ancillary stuff, right? Again, the lightsabers, the wands that are extra costs that enable other things. That's fine. You can enjoy. You've paid $100 and whatever to get in, to go on the rides, to experience the theming. The other stuff is secondary. Even having a hotel in the middle of the land, that's all secondary, right? The idea that now the ride experience is going to be different based on how much money you paid is troubling to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so when I thought about this, like I was on my walk my daily constitutional. I'm like, whenever Disney announces something like this, my first instinct is to say, what other things like this can they do? Mm-hmm. So could they charge you $5 to ride at the front of every ride? Oof. Right. Or the back, right? You can request your seat. It's $5 or $2, whatever. Right. Why not?
I was thinking more to the effect of, could they give you an add-on scope for Buzz Lightyear laser blasters? So,
right.
You could be that much more accurate. And it's definitely a slippery slope. But at the same time, it'll be interesting to see what the actual sales for this are. Because face it, unless they're telling you going into the attraction. I mean, if you come out and go through the gift shop and you're like, oh, your score was terrible.
Right.
Well, what if you bought this? And then you get back in line. In fact, I was just talking with some folks at Panasonic about, if you think about the number of technologically based things that Disney has tried that they've then abandoned, whether it's My Pal Mickey, or do you remember for the Millennium, they had that interactive thing that was like 3 inches across and like 3/4 of an inch thick and weighed as much as a dinner plate. And when you rode through an attraction, the lights would occasionally go off and it would buzz. And, how they learned the hard way. It's like, well, nobody wants something like that dangling off of their clothes in Florida. So it went away fairly quickly. And you honestly wonder, are people going to pay $65 for something they can use on one ride?
Yeah. So $65, you got to carry around with you for the rest of the day. Yeah, and not only that, but unless they tell you ahead of time, like I think very few people are going to buy it before they ride the ride for the first time.
That's it exactly. Yeah. And it's an interesting attempt at a new revenue stream. And yes, I'm sure that somebody at Disney said, well, look what happened with the interactive wands. But it's like, look, I have 7 Harry Potter books and 8 Harry Potter movies where I see these people wielding these wands. Show me the Spider-Man movie or the comic book where somebody's using this wrist thing.
Yeah.
Other than here in this attraction.
I mean, there's just a lot of concerns I have on it. The other thing too is like, okay, so you ride the first time, right? You realize that you this might be enjoyable, so you pay the $65. Now you got to get in line again for it.
Yeah.
So unless they're giving you some sort of like front of the line access along with it, which is an interesting idea, what other things could you monetize on an existing ride? Again, first I want to be the first seat on Space Mountain, something like that, or I don't want to get wet on. How much would you pay to turn the water down a little bit on Kali River Rapids, stuff like that?
I have another way to go here, Len. I would pay good money to ride in the elevator down on the Haunted Mansion with people who aren't reciting the "There's always my way."
The talking and the no talking group. Oh my God, that's it. I would pay money for that too.
There you go.
All right, Jim, let's do some listener questions. So this is a follow-up from Becky, who wrote in last week and asked about Mears transportation from the Dolphin. Remember, she's staying at the Dolphin and had a question about bus service now that it's Mears, not Disney. And the question was, should she walk to the boardwalk or to the yacht club to catch a bus to the Magic Kingdom? And would it be allowed? Okay, so I originally said, I don't think it's worth the walk because we sent someone over to time the buses from the Swan and the Dolphin, and they're running every 30 minutes and so on. And then a bunch of people wrote in saying that I didn't explicitly mention that the Swan and the Dolphin buses drop off at the TTC now, not the Magic Kingdom. And I definitely forgot about that. Yep. But so my next question was, does it actually change the math? So we sent researchers out again, this time to time the bus ride from the TTC to the Magic Kingdom. And so this is what they found. So the maximum wait for a bus to leave the TTC once you board in the morning is around 6 minutes. And that's way faster than I expected it would be. And then the trip itself takes 4 minutes. So your expected trip time from the Swan and Dolphin to the Magic Kingdom bus stop, like the actual Magic Kingdom itself, using Mears is half of the bus wait. So the bus wait's 30 minutes, so half that is 15, plus the drive to the TTC, which is 11 minutes, plus half the wait for a bus at the TTC, which is 3 minutes, plus the drive to the TTC, drive to the Magic Kingdom itself, which is 4 minutes. So that's 33 minutes total. Versus walking to the yacht club, which is 9 minutes. I checked on Google Maps, plus half the wait for a Disney bus, which let's say it's 8 minutes, plus the drive to the Magic Kingdom bus stop, which is, let's say it's 13 minutes because you don't have to go to the TTC, and that's 30 minutes. Okay, so if you use the Mears transportation, it's 33 minutes. If you use the Disney transportation, it's 30 minutes. So the question then is whether you'd walk 9 minutes, possibly in the hot Florida sun, to potentially save 3 minutes where you could be sitting down. I'm not entirely sure the answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
So I think my original answer is still stands, which was if you know you just missed the Mears bus at the Swan, walk over to the yacht club. Otherwise, stay at the Swan.
The old sweaty fat guy approves of this math. Sitting could sound so much better than walking 9 minutes in the hot sun.
Yes, that's thanks. But anyway, thanks to everybody that wrote in and everybody that texted me with that particular question. It was definitely worth researching. All right, here's a question from Marcel, who says, "Hi, Len and Jim. I hope all is well across the pond. We're looking forward to visiting Disney World again in 2022. Today, and that's the day that we're recording this, the new UK and Ireland offer was launched for Disney. Before COVID, this offer would include a free dining plan. This time we get a dining credit of about $30 per day per person. Do you think an offer with a dining plan will come back later this year, or will this be the best offer we'll get? Thank you, Marcel." All right, so Jim, this is interesting. So I checked this offer, and it's true. So instead of offering a dining plan where you get a certain number of components, sit-down meals and counter service meals and snacks and so on, they're basically saying, we'll give you this many dollars per day to spend on food.
You've talked about this just recently, about the food supply issues that Disney has been having at the parks. Now, mind you,
look at Disneyland. I mean, Disneyland's basically what are the cast members buying at Costco on their way in? That's what we're serving today. Oh, it's crab legs. Oh, fantastic, right? Like,
or dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets, whichever they happen to have in bulk at the time. So, yeah, I mean, I hate to say this, but until I think Disney feels, forgive me for using this term, more food secure, this is kind of the way they're going to go for a while. Before they, our supply chains back up, or has chicken returned to a reasonable price?
Well, the other thing is too, I mean, think about this. So we've talked on previous shows recently about the difficulty Disney's facing in getting workers back into the parks, especially for restaurants, right? So, for Disney to offer a dining plan to a wide swath of people, one that includes counter service restaurants and sit-down restaurants. They have to have the sit-down restaurant capacity, not only to satisfy those people for the dining plans that they sell, but also for everyone else who's going to walk in, right? Or make reservations not using the dining plan. And I think what Disney is saying is like, it's still too early for us to say that in 2022, that capacity will be back to pre-pandemic levels, which is probably will be. But if you're Disney and you need to make that call today, would you bet that way? And I think they took the safe thing and said, you know what, we can always offer the dining plan later. And I think that's what this is here. I think it's like, do we have or will we have the capacity to satisfy everybody's needs under a dining plan? Because you don't want to sell somebody a dining plan that says, you get 3 sit-down meals a day or, whatever it is, and then have only 5 sit-down restaurants open across the entire park, right? Like that would just be, you'd basically be selling something that can't be redeemed, and that would just make people angry.
And the ripple effect of what that causes for, guest relations, likewise, what people are saying when they get home from their vacation.
Right.
It's just sort of like, we don't need this right now.
Yeah.
So let's set up something we can actually deliver, and let's look to the future and see what happens.
The other thing, too, is with this, they can test out different offers and say, how much of a dining credit in dollars per day do you need to make this incentive worthwhile to you, right? So
Excellent point. Yeah.
One was like, one of the dining credits was like $65 per day. Another one was like, I could be wrong here, but like 51, and then another one was 30. And they could tweak those numbers endlessly to see what makes sense for people. So Marcel, no, I don't think there'll be a dining plan offer out until we get restaurant capacity back to normal. This may be the best offer that you get at least this year. Well, they can always offer it next year too, right? So,
True.
All right. And here is another capacity-related question from Kathy, who says, given the increase in park hours and dining options and reports of cast member callbacks, along with rumors of park capacity increases and resumption of AP renewals, when do you think DVC will lift the 50% borrowing limit on points? Have you heard anything or have a guess as to when DVC members might be able to borrow all of their next year's points again? So we just talked about this with this. Yeah. There's this huge pool of unused points. Kathy, I'd be surprised if that happened this year. If DVC lifted the borrowing limits. There's so many people with so many points chasing so few rooms, right? And you think about like all the stuff that they have to contend with in the fall. Like people are going back to school in person, which means they can't probably travel. As we start resuming more normal life, people aren't going to be able to. Some people will actually go back to office work.
Yeah.
God forbid. But
Yes. What is this thing you call office?
Yeah.
And we can probably anticipate DVC tapping the brakes into 2022, right? So,
yeah. I'd be surprised if you'd be able to borrow more than 50% of your. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I'd be surprised if it happened a year. Maybe a year from now. But there's so many points chasing the rooms right now, and that's why you saw things like when Disney announced a DVC cruise on the new DVC ship, the Wish, you had to pay with points.
Oh yeah,
and that's again one of the ways that they're trying to get people to spend points. So it didn't seem like it was a great deal looking at it from a points perspective, but again, anything that they can do to have people burn points, they'll do it.
No, that's where we are right now.
Here's a question from Lynn, who says, hi, Jim and Len. Wondering if you'd offer your opinion on a catch-22 situation I'm experiencing with Disney dining reservations. We have a group of 7 going soon, and I was trying to find sit-down restaurants with outdoor seating available. I was shocked to discover that outdoor seating cannot be reserved, and if we decide to take a chance to get an outdoor table, say at Rose and Crown, and aren't successful, we must choose between eating inside and possibly contracting COVID, or pay the $70 no-show for our entire party. After speaking with several cast members, the consensus was that I should shut up and enjoy Pecos Bills. We're a year into COVID. I can't be the first with these concerns. So that's an excellent way of putting that, Lynn. So here's the thing, right? In my experience with dining, and again, I'm saying as a regular guest, not as I'm Len Testa, but my experience is they will work with you once you have a reservation and you actually show up, right? So if you say you want outdoor seating, and I think especially if you're going anytime soon, like next week, Jim, it's going to be literally 99 degrees in Orlando a couple of days. So Lynn, if you're going anytime soon and you volunteer to sit outside instead of in the air conditioning, They will bring you as much ice water as you want. Like you will have almost no trouble sitting outside. I think the thing is that Disney just doesn't want to guarantee it, right? And it just never. I think everything to do with COVID, it's probably that their reservation system is not set up to be able to guarantee that, right? It's nothing. I think it's as simple as that.
Also, remember, we are coming up on our 50th year of operations at the Walt Disney World Resort. And after all that time, they have learned that when there's a pissing down rainstorm going on outside, it's really hard to persuade people, well, we have tables available outside, and here's a poncho. I mean, that also kind of factors into the whole, yes, we have outdoor seating. When the very thing between the extremes of heat or the rain, you talk with people in food service, it's like, yes, we have those tables, but we can't count on those tables. Or more to the point, during the day, if we're planning, put so many guests out there and then we have an extremely rainy day, we're slammed trying to get all those people seated indoors.
Right. So Lynn, I don't think you'll have any trouble getting an outdoor table. If let's say you can't get an outdoor table, I would be very, very surprised if you voiced your concerns about being seated indoors to somebody at the reservation stand at the restaurant, and they did not just cancel your reservation at no charge. Like, I would be very, very surprised if that didn't happen. So I don't think that's really a risk there. The thing that they want you to do is make a good faith effort to show up, and that's why the thing is there. I think you'll be fine. But let me know how that goes, please. All right, Jim, a question from Vince. We have a big family trip planned for December to Walt Disney World, staying at the Contemporary. Due to COVID, Disney hasn't announced if there'll be a Mickey's Very Merry Christmas party this year, although I'm sure they'll make it happen. So it's probably be like, celebration of Mickey's holidays or whatever. For planning purposes, what days of the week has Very Merry typically fallen on? I'd like to book a day at the Magic Kingdom with some amount of certainty. Thanks for your help. So I looked this up, Vince, for 2019, and it actually varied by month. In November of 2019, so pre-Thanksgiving, the most common days of the week for the parties were Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. There was one on Wednesday. And then the other days of the week, the Magic Kingdom was open later to compensate for the days on which it closed early. In December, it was Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So Saturday was typically the day in which the Magic Kingdom was open later.
Just something else to add to the pile for the decision-making process here. Because, again, we just had the Halloween not
after hours events. Yeah.
And it started in August, just as Mickey's Not So Scary used to. So I just wanted to point out that if we're referencing the 2019 schedule, they didn't start Mickey's Very Merry till November 8th. So
there's typically a week between the end of the...
That's it, exactly. And if I were a betting man, I'd start looking from November 15th onward. We can't necessarily count on them starting it at the exact same time.
Well, that's interesting because Thanksgiving this year is the 25th. So let's say it starts the week of the 8th. That have two, so they typically don't run the Halloween parties the week of Thanksgiving, which would be the week of the 22nd. So they would run it. So you'd have 2 weeks in November, the week of the 8th and the week of the 15th. But Vince is saying is going in December, so he should be safe.
All right. Yeah. But no, that makes sense. It's just going to be interesting to see when this Christmas after hours event gets in motion and when they actually do start offering tickets.
I can't wait to see what the prices are.
I have the smelling salt sitting here right now.
All right, last listener question from Greg. As a fan of the Run Disney races and Marathon Weekend in particular, I'd love to know if you have any insight into those races returning. As Florida reopens and guests return to Walt Disney World, all of us runners are waiting with bated breath, which is dangerous for a runner. Thanks, and keep up the good work with the show.
Good one, Greg.
That was
good
good,
one.
Greg. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, so I checked with my sources today. I've heard absolutely nothing about Run Disney for 2022. My understanding is that they're waiting to see what the other marathons do between now and sort of the end of summer. So we know that the New York City Marathon, which is this fall, has already gone virtual, but they may announce something relatively soon for 2022. So we'll see there. I think at this point, Run Disney Race is optional. If they do something like, say, show me proof of vaccination, because you know how tightly you're packed in those corrals, even if you're outdoors.
Yeah.
If they say you got to show proof of vaccination, then I think they can run it. And I think that's the big question that they're asking themselves now. Like, what can we ask these people to do in order to have the number of runners we need to make this thing financially worthwhile?
And at its height, this is a huge revenue stream.
Oh,
for the
yeah. I mean,
company.
tens of thousands of runners and then their families and stuff like that. I mean, it's a lot. So, I mean, again, if you've run the race, you know how tightly packed those corrals are. Those people are your best friends for 5 hours. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that goes on there. So I think that's the thing that they're worried about. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to either, be in 36-degree weather in 4 a.m. or at 78-degree weather at 4 a.m., in the outskirts of Epcot with my shoes wet from running down an embankment to pee before the race. Yeah, it's great. Let's do this all again.
Oh, that's like a wonderful experience.
It's, when you wake up at 2:30 and you're like, okay, I've got to slam this banana in 3 coffees so that I can go out to stand in either the cold or the heat until 5:30 a.m. when this race goes. And I paid $2,500 for this. Why didn't I just stay home and buy a Peloton? Anyway, things that you ask yourself. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim continues the stories of how characters like Zorro ended up in the Disney theme parks. We'll be right back.
Every story you love, every invention that moves you, every idea you wished was yours, all began as nothing. Just a blank page with a blinking cursor, asking a simple question. What do you see? Great ideas start on Mac. Find out more on apple.com/Mac.
Dripping in gold? That's cool. Dripping in Velveeta's supremely creamy golden cheesiness? That's respect. Elevate your drip with Velveeta's range of outrageously delicious dips and dishes. Shells, cheese, melty blocks, and heat and eat queso that go all in on indulgence. Flex on your fam with a creamy, cheesy masterpiece and go all in on what you love with Velveeta. Respect the drip and satisfy your cravings. Bring home the drip with Velveeta.
Every Who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton. But where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one Who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and low prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as Who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
So this is the fourth of our 4-part series on Davy Crockett Zorro and Mandalorian in the parks. When we left off, Walt had provided ABC with a Zorro TV show, and for the moment, everybody was happy, right?
Yep. He set up Zorro at ABC because they were 1/3 owner of Disneyland Inc. at that point, and he didn't want ABC executives tapping the brakes on his proposed expansion of Tomorrowland,
Right.
which was going to add Matterhorn and the subs and the monorails to the park in one fell swoop for $6 million. So he provides ABC with this Davy Crockett replacement. Zorro half-hour show debuts October 10th, 1957. That's on a Wednesday night. Mind you, the Walt Disney's Disneyland show, that airs on Thursday nights, and the Mickey Mouse Kitty show is running Monday through Friday in most markets in the 5 to 6 o'clock slot, just before dinner. So at this point, ABC has 3 hit television shows that Walt Disney Productions is producing for that network. And advertisers are paying top dollar to have their commercials aired during Zorro, the Mickey Mouse Club, and Walt Disney Presents. So the money's just pouring in.
It's great.
Well, yeah. Again, you'd think all parties would be happy with that situation, but here's the thing about money, Len. How much is enough?
You're asking this in the context of Disney, Jim, and I think we all know what the answer is.
Yeah, it's a $65 shooter, in the web slinger ride. But ABC has taken the money that they're making off of all these Disney-produced shows. And you have to remember, when Walt signed his deal with the American Broadcasting Company of 53, out of the 3 networks at that time, NBC, CBS, and ABC, ABC's a distant third. In fact, the joke at that time was ABC stood for the Almost Broadcasting Company. By 57, that's all changed. Due to the popularity of 3 Disney shows, ABC's now signed up dozens of news affiliates. Its broadcast schedule is so much more competitive with CBS and NBC, more penetration of the country. By the way, I got a lot of the info for this part of the series from Bill Carter's wonderful book, The Wonderful World of Disney Television, A Complete History. Definitely, if you want to learn more about this. Problem is, it was published 28 years ago, back in September of 97, and I really wish somebody at Disney would tell Mr. Carter to please update this.
It's not on Kindle, then, is what you're saying.
Well, there we go. So ABC is using the popularity of these shows to fund development of new shows for the network. Okay. And a lot of that money is coming directly from the sales of commercials, which are then broadcast on weekly airings of Zorro, Mickey Mouse Club, and Walt Disney. Problem is, there's only so many ad slots you can sell per hour,
right?
Or in the case of Zorro, a half hour. So ABC executives, in order to create more slots so they can then sell additional ads, begin making cuts to Zorro, the Mickey Mouse Club, and the Walt Disney Disneyland show.
They start editing the show on their own.
They make these minute-long trims here and there so they can more room for ads. And the weird part of it is ABC has the right to do this. The contract that Roy, you got to remember, Walt and Roy were newbies when it came to television. And more to the point, in 1953, television was new to television.
Yeah.
So there was language in the contract that said, for the rerun of the show, the network has the right to make cuts to put in additional commercials. And you got to remember, this is also back in the day when you did a season of television, Len, and it was 39 episodes.
Okay.
Typically these days, when a television show gets greenlit for production or a continuing season, they'll get an initial order of 13 episodes. Yeah. And then by November, if people like what they see, the network will then pick up the back 9, which means they then have a full season order of 22 episodes. But 22 today is considered, oh my God, look at all those episodes, as opposed to 39. Anyway, getting back to Zorro, and you were talking about Zorro Days at Disneyland, this was held 5 times, Len. It was initially held April 26th to the 27th in 1958. Okay. It was so popular that they brought it back for May 30th, June 1st of that same year, and then finally they brought it back for November 27th through the 30th of 58.
Wow. Okay, Zorro Days.
And then there were additional events in November of 59 and November of 60, but 3 different Zorro Days held at Disneyland in 1958 all by itself. And easy to understand, that's, the first season of Zorro runs on ABC from October 57 through July of 58, so the show is white hot at that point. Okay. Also, again, Walt is building the Matterhorn, the subs, and the monorail, and needs as much money as possible for the $6 million project.
Plus, that part of the park is now construction, right?
Well, no, that's it exactly.
So what I'm hearing is that Epcot's Future World will at some point in the near future have Zorro Days.
Yes,
How has no one thought of this?
Mandalorian Days.
Days at Epcot. You know what? Does it make sense? No. Do we care? No.
No. There we go. So what was Zorro Days at Disneyland like? All right, if you were a Zorro fan, it was heaven on earth, because regularly the cast would parade up and down Main Street, USA, but 4 times a day in Frontierland, along the rooftops of the buildings there, the cast of the show would actually stage a sword fight. And to be honest, if you were going to see one of these shows, you wanted to catch the 4th one, the one that was at the latter part of the day, because what would happen is the sword fight would actually continue along the rooftop, go down to the street, and then cross to the Mark Twain riverboat, where the final moment of the fight would be up on the upper deck of the Mark Twain. And Guy Williams, dressed as Zorro, would force the actor, I'm blanking his name, sorry, the gentleman who played the Commandante.
Wait, the actual actors from the TV show were doing the sword fight?
The actual actors from the TV show, yes.
So, like, Mark Hamill is now doing 4 a days in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, all right. But the part of it I love is that they're at the end of the battle on the Mark Twain, Guy Williams would force the Commandante to jump off of the boat into the water.
Okay, hold on. Jim, did anyone from any insurance company sign off on any of this?
It was a very different time, Len. And more to the point, the fact that somebody didn't die, because isn't the water...
I was going to say, how
6 feet?
It's not 10 feet deep.
Yeah, no, not at all. So it's one of these things where it's like, hey, maybe you should pull up your legs before you hit the bottom.
Between this and the New Year's Eve baby thing on the zip line, you got to think to yourself whether anyone at Disneyland actually knew the dangers of anything that they were doing. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
You know why they did? They made it the last show of the day, so that they needed to replace the dude for that have all night to figure it out. They're going to the Salvation Army. They're going to hey, you need some money, kid? Come here. I got a job for you tomorrow.
There you go. Oh, God. All right. So you had Imagineers who were kids growing up in Southern California who went to this event because they remembered it. And when they were designing Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, in fact, you can go today to the, I want to say it's the area directly around the First Order TIE Echelon.
Yeah. There's a whole area there where they've got spaces set up for characters to walk and run along. And it's supposed to be for fighting. Yeah.
Yeah. Evidently, what ended up happening was a 1-2 punch of they cut the entertainment budget. So they couldn't have the stunt performers do this several times a day. And the folks in the safety department are like, they're going to do what now while they're wearing their stormtrooper helmets, which have terrible sight lines? Yeah. It's like, no. That's not going to happen. So we were mentioning earlier the TV season back then, 39 episodes.
39,
so we got,
could you imagine if there were 39, if TV seasons were 39 episodes? Do you imagine how much David Boreanaz we would have on television right now? God. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
So we get 39 episodes of Zorro from October 57 through 58.
Okay.
And then we get a second season, full season, 39, from October 58 through July 59. Zorro's doing great ratings-wise, and so is the Mickey Mouse Club and the Walt Disney Presents Anthology Show. But Walt is unhappy about this whole, you're cutting into the reruns and you're shooting more ads. He's actually getting letters now from parents whose kids are watching the Mickey Mouse Club show, which because it's run 5 days a week, the reruns are happening that much quicker.
Yep.
And so it's like there are parents at home like, have you seen how many commercials are in this thing? And Walt feels bad about that. So he goes to ABC and said, you got to stop doing this. And they're like, read your contract, Walt. So what Walt says, well, my contract with you is up in fall of 61. What if I take my show to another network? And this very frosty moment between Walt Disney Productions and ABC happens to the point of ABC, which is sort of staring down the barrel of, he's going to take these shows that we made popular and take them to CBS and NBC. Well, we can't have that. So so
basically from that point forward, every additional TV episode that airs is an advertisement for Walt Disney's services to CBS and NBC.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Got it.
So what ABC executives decide to do is you have two hit series, the Mickey Mouse Club and you have the Zorro Show. They canceled them in season 2.
Oof.
They do this in the summer of 59. July 2nd, 1959, Roy Disney turns around and files a lawsuit against ABC. And the filing actually says, several weeks ago, the ABC network advised us and announced publicly they would not televise Zorro or the Mickey Mouse Club over their network next season. At the same time, they told us we could not offer these programs to any other television outlet. Subsequently, they have interfered with our efforts to offer these programs to any other networks or independent stations. We do not dispute ABC's right to discontinue these or any programs on the network, but we will fight these maneuvers to suppress these shows.
So remember, though, when Walt first started out, right, and he had Oswald, he goes to New York to negotiate a different rate for Oswald, realizes that the distributor actually owned the rights to Oswald and bought out all of his animators. So I'm sure Walt's contract here, Walt had learned from that, and there was no way that ABC owned the concept of Zorro or Mickey Mouse Club.
See, that was something that had to be determined in the courts, and it took the next 10 months, Len. It wasn't till July of 1960, the following year, that they worked out a semi-amicable solution. At this point, Walt Disney Productions agrees to buy out ABC's 1/3 interest in Disneyland for $7.5 million. Literally,
I would buy 1/3 of Disneyland right now for $7.5 million.
But it wasn't just that. In fact, we were talking on last week's show about Leonard Goldenson, the president and founder of ABC, and he made this personal. He made this hurt because in addition to that $7.5 million that Disney had to hand over to get the third of Disneyland stock back, Goldenson made a term of this condition that in addition to this payment, for the next 5 years, so 1960 to 1965.
Okay.
ABC would have the right to run most of the fast food concessions at Disneyland. And given that on an average year, $2.5 million a year in fast food sales. So they didn't just get $7.5 million for their stock back. They got an additional $12.5 million total over that 5 years.
So in US dollars now, or in modern dollars, multiply that by 8. So that's $100 million. $100 million in concessions. Because I was going to say, when you originally said that ABC was giving up 1/3 interest in Disneyland for $7.5 million and freeing up Disney from its contract with ABC, I'm like, that is literally the worst contract negotiation I've ever heard in my entire life. What did ABC also ask to get slapped in the head? Like, what was ABC getting at that? Okay, but they're getting $100 million in fast food revenue a year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I can see how no one's entirely happy with this thing, but okay.
No, Walt particularly, and he sort of digs in his heel
because he knows. He's like, I'm investing in the parks. That fast food number is going to go up every year.
Yeah. So it kills him. But in fact, in 1965, at Disneyland's centennial celebration, Walt actually talks about this, that my brother Roy figured we better bite those guys out. I wasn't happy with the terms that the ABC set, but my brother figured if we don't buy them out now, we're going to be paying a lot more later. And in the end, it was a smart move that we did it then.
Yeah, again, 1/3 interest in Disneyland, $7.5 million, multiply that by 8. They basically paid $60 million in today money for 1/3 interest in Disneyland. That's a bargain.
Absolutely. Okay. But anyway, October of 1960, Walt cuts a deal with NBC. They're going to move the Disney anthology series over to that network. They get a 3-year deal with options to renew, and that show will launch in the fall of 61. In the meantime, now that ABC and Disney are making nice, Walt tries to revive the Zorro franchise.
When in 1960?
They've come to terms in June of 1960. So Walt tries to revive the Zorro show. So they actually do for the next 2 seasons of the Walt Disney Presents TV show. They do 2-hour-long episodes per season for Zorro with the hope that, okay, we can throw, I know the fire's kind of gone up, but we throw some gasoline on it, it'll come back up, and that's just not the case.
Right, because we transitioned from, in the mid-50s, we had, the Davy Crockett thing, but I think you'd mentioned this actually on a show once, but when Russia launched Sputnik and the U.S. had Alan Shepard, nobody wanted coonskin caps anymore. Everyone wanted to be an astronaut.
John Lasseter talked about that's really the dynamic of the Toy Story movies, if you think about it.
Totally. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have the Woody toy that feels threatened by the fact that he's being replaced by the Spaceman toy. So 17 years after Walt Disney dies in December of 66, Walt Disney Production does take a stab at reviving the franchise. They produce 5 episodes of a sitcom called Zorro and Son. Yep.
In the 80s.
In the 80s. It's a parody show kind of done in the style of the Airplane movies or the Police Squad movies. Doesn't find an audience, and it debuts in April of 83, and it's gone by the first week of May of the same year. Likewise, in 88, Disney tries to relaunch its anthology show on NBC. For a single season, there's a show called The Magical World of Disney, and they actually revive Davy Crockett as part of this. And why it's interesting to go look at now is the wraparound device for these episodes is you have the elderly Davy Crockett setting up his own stories. And what's genuinely cool about this is they hired Johnny Cash to play the elderly Davy Crockett. And you get his voice for the narration. I mean, it's Tim Gunnigan who's playing the young Davy who does the actual adventures, but the wraparounds are great.
Okay. No idea ever dies at Disney, right?
Yep.
If they want to come back with this, I'm just saying right now, Willie Nelson is Davy Crockett.
Ooh. I like this idea.
So that didn't work?
Again, it was an attempt at an anthology show during a time when variety shows were dying. And I mean, think about...
In 88, Johnny Cash... Like, Johnny Cash is a legend now, right? But this is in his down downturn, right? This is before he became cool again.
Even Steven Spielberg during that time launched his own anthology series, Amazing Stories. And he got a 2-season deal from NBC, and it was gone at the end of 2 seasons. That people just weren't interested in the anthology format.
Right. But now for streaming, oh my God.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd love if somebody at Disney would find these episodes, just for us Johnny Cash fans. Obviously, Davy Crockett and Zorro live on at Disney parks. We have, especially in Anaheim, where we have the Davy Crockett Explorer canoes. And we also have Rancho del Zocalo.
Yep.
I cannot tell you whenever, on previous shows we've talked about Rancho del Zocalo.
Hold on. You're about to tell this story, and I think it's the greatest story we've ever told. So go ahead. No build-up or anything on it. I had no idea either. Go ahead.
The whole notion of, really? This is where Doritos came from?
Go ahead.
This is and in fact, for me, what's fascinating to tell this story now in the moment where, there's this public fight going on about who...
Flaming Hot Cheetos. Yeah.
That's it, exactly.
Okay. That's what I was going to try and tie it in. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, but that's it exactly. That as the story goes, and this is prior to the restaurant being named Rancho del Zocalo. At this point, it's still called Casa del Frito.
Okay.
Would change its name to Casa Mexicana in 82 before going with Casa del Zocalo in February 2001. But anyway... It's the early 1960s. Okay. This is when, during the off-season, Disneyland closes on Mondays and Tuesdays. Okay. And a lot of these outside restaurants, the restaurants are still being run by lessees.
Yep.
And so one day, a gentleman who works for Alex Foods, which is the supplier for Casa del Fritos, shows up on a Monday or a Tuesday and notices, it's the weekend, after the weekend, and geez, you have this giant pile of unused tortillas that, they're just throwing straight into trash. And it's like, how wasteful that is. And it's like, now, wait a minute. Did you know if you cut those into triangles and then throw them into the deep fryer and then put a little Mexican seasoning on them, that's actually a snack that's really popular in Mexico. And the cook who's working at the restaurant's like, oh, well, yeah, I guess we could try that. And they begin offering that as just sort of when you sit down at the restaurant, it's like, they drop the thing, here, nibble on these while we get you your menus and your drinks and that sort of thing. And they would come to the back to the table and they'd be gone. And people like, those are great. Can we have more of those? So they offered them initially for free of charge.
For free?
Yeah. They did it because they then didn't have to give them a bag of Fritos, which cost money. And
so yesterday's tortillas became Doritos.
Today's Doritos. And because they're so popular, they actually put them on the menu and began charging for them. And then one day in 1964, the VP of marketing for Frito-Lay goes to Disneyland. And the gentleman's name is Arch West. He has lunch at Casa de Fritos. And it's like, what is this thing that I've never seen this, but where did this come from? And it's like, well, they're Doritos, and we make them. And so he actually goes into the kitchen, finds out what they're doing, takes the idea back. They then, the following year, test market them in Southern California. They sell out faster than the company can actually make.
Doritos are, one of the quintessential snack foods.
So what ends up happening is that it's so successful in the Southern California market, they start having these chips produced en masse at their Tulsa, Oklahoma plant and distribute them nationwide starting in 1967. And the Dorito we know and love today is here because somebody saw a pile of tortillas that had been thrown out of trash at Disneyland.
At Disneyland. So Disneyland is indirectly responsible for the creation of Doritos.
There we go.
That's an amazing story.
It's one of these things where it's like, that's all well and good, but you still can't buy that many bags of Doritos.
I was going to say, okay. I really want Doritos right now. That's funny.
That's right. They're usually collectibles. No, they're junk food. Stop. Okay.
I'm reminiscing about my time in Disneyland.
There you go.
I'm not mindlessly eating in front of the TV. All right.
So to bring things to a close here, we started by talking about The Mandalorian.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, I was when we talk about The Mandalorian, I was texting with our friend of the show and all around Star Wars fan, Brad, last night, and he pointed out that in Doc Ondar's, you can get a copy of Rey's lightsaber, which she acquires in Episode 9. But Batuu is supposed to be set between Episodes 8 and 9, so Rey can't have her lightsaber yet. So Disney doesn't seem especially concerned about canon inside Batuu. But the reason why I mentioned this, Jim, is while I was texting with Brad, I was also watching the movie Galaxy Quest last night for the first time. Have you seen this movie?
I love this movie.
I love this movie. So,
Yeah.
so Laurel's asleep, right? Now I'm watching the movie and I'm trying not to be loud or anything. But Tim Allen, remember the scene where Tim Allen is being chased by the rock monster and he needs suggestions for how to defeat it? And then Sam Rockwell says, "Can you form some sort of rudimentary lathe?" I laughed for like 5 minutes. The least helpful suggestion you could possibly make at that moment. And he says it off camera, like, he ad-libbed it.
Yeah. Well, but at the same time, what's wonderful about Galaxy's Edge is it's this rare film that can have it both ways.
Yeah,
it's clearly
it makes fun of the people, but then rewards them at the end. Yeah.
No, that's exactly it. In fact, I love the fact that for the entire movie, Sam Rockwell is like, "Oh my God, I'm a red shirt. I'm gonna die."
And then at the end, he gets an actual credit, a name credit.
There we go.
Yeah, a fantastic movie. Anyway, all right. So how do they bring the Mandalorian in?
When they were making the decisions about the Star Wars land, initially there was going to be this area that was tied to Tatooine and Mos Eisley. And the notion was Kathleen Kennedy was the one who put the kibosh on this. Like, look, we don't want to be focused on Star Wars past. We want to be focused on Star Wars future. Right. And Star Wars future right now, Len, is on Disney Plus.
Is on prequels, yeah. Prequels on Disney Plus, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, you've got things like The Bad Batch, the animated series. Yeah. That's actually set between Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Likewise, this December, we're going to get The Book of Boba Fett, which is set after Return of the Jedi and before The Force Awakens. Likewise, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
This is Obi-Wan before Episode 4.
Yes.
It's a prequel. So this is an early Obi-Wan. Okay.
Well, this is the Obi-Wan after having turned infant Luke Skywalker over to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and then, sitting on Tatooine waiting till I become important to the plot again. Okay. By the way, I've also been informed by folks at Lucasfilm, we should not expect to see The Mandalorian Season 3 till at least the latter part of 2022.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all production was pushed off because of COVID, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But originally, Imagineering set up Batuu as a place where the characters from the most recent trilogy, we're talking Rey, Finn, Poe, and Kylo Ren, could be found. Thinking now is have to bring in the characters from the Disney Plus shows. And oddly enough, Len, the thing is they're feeling tremendous pressure because of Star Wars, the Galactic Star Cruiser.
Oh, yeah. Oh, speaking of Galaxy Quest, can you imagine the people that are going to go to the Star Wars hotel and have all of the canon memorized and literally pick that apart? Like we may have to pay for Brad's stay there just so he can go annoy people. These computer terminals were clearly not used in episode 9, and yeah.
Well, see, but that's the thing. When people are going to be paying
a lot of money,
for their cruise, they're going to want to see
right.
It has to be right. More to the point, it has to be the characters they want to see.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's the whole notion of I want to see, where are the character? Where's Boba Fett?
Yeah.
Where's Obi-Wan? And so right now, Imagineering has identified this as an issue. But to be honest, it's on the other side of the Galactic Star Cruiser opening that we will, in fact, see they will significantly ramp up the presence in the land from the Star Wars Disney Plus limited series. But again, a lot of that is on back of, somebody standing as people are coming and going from the hotel about, all right, were you happy? What did you want to see? What didn't you get? And it's like what those people tell them is what we will see show up in Batuu in 2022 and 2023.
All right. So in the current Batuu timeline, there is no Obi-Wan Kenobi because he's dead.
But again, he's a Force ghost. Ooh.
Yeah. So if we get to the point where people get in the Star Wars hotel and say, where the hell is Obi-Wan? I want him as my Jedi Master.
There we go.
Then all of a sudden it's like, bring me the ghost of Alec Guinness. Yeah, who was the ghost in Hamlet?
Oh,
this is horrible that I don't remember this. People are shouting at me right now.
Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him well.
Yeah, but what's the ghost? Yeah. Anyway, it's gonna be like that. They're gonna pull a Shakespeare and bring him in as a ghost. I'm sorry for every English major that I've offended for not remembering this. Laurel's gonna yell at me as soon as I'm done with this recording. All right, so that's how they're gonna bring the characters in. So canon be damned is what I'm hearing.
The thing that they keep hammering home in Imagineering is like, okay, Tiana is a young American girl who lives in Louisiana in the 1920s.
Jim, don't get me started on Frontierland. Don't.
No.
You're just.
Yeah, I mean, it's
just
just
not
sort
the
of
way to
like
end the show with me upset like that. I love the idea of Tiana taking over Splash Mountain. I don't understand how it fits in Frontierland. In Disneyland, absolutely fine. In Walt Disney World, I don't understand the timeline.
Well, you know,
Disneyland is fine because it's got the Haunted Mansion next to it and it's New Orleans. That makes sense, right? I get that. Walt Disney World?
Well, at that point, it was like, Mr. Eisner says. And so it's like, absolutely, that's where it goes.
All right. All right, but we learned about the history of Doritos, Jim, and I think that's a win for any show.
In the end, folks, that's the
takeaway from this one.
There we go.
That's still fantastic. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the show today. Please head on over to disneydish.bandcamp.com, where you'll find exclusive shows never before heard on iTunes, including our complete Joseph Mankiewicz series on ideas Disney had for Epcot way back in the 1970s. You can find more of Jim at jimhillmedia.com and more of me, Len at touringplans.com. On next week's show, the history of Disney's on-ride photos, and then after that, the history of Toy Story Midway Mania. We're produced fabulously by Aaron Adams, who'll be performing Sigrid's entire EP, Don't Kill My Vibe, at the 2021 Astoria Scandinavian Midsummer Festival on June 18th, 2021, at the Clatsop County Fairgrounds in beautiful downtown Astoria, Oregon. While Aaron's doing that, please go into iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We'll see you on the next show.